Hello everyone, welcome to 2025. It is currently New Year's, the time I'm filming this, which is absolutely wild that it is 2025. I will never be able to grasp how fast time is going. There's always like a bittersweetness when it comes to New Year's for me, just because I'm like aging further away from childhood, but also the future is bright and I'm grateful to be alive. And so I hope you guys are ready for the New Year's. If you have any goals that you'd like to share, let me know. I will probably make a New Year's video talking maybe about goals and my thoughts, because I feel like my perspectives have changed. I don't know if it's because I'm 25 now, so like my prefrontal cortex is here. She's developed or something, but I feel a shift from last year for sure, but we'll talk about that whenever I make that video. But we're gonna do some writing today, our first little writing session in 2025. Right now, I don't know if it's like that New Year's air, but I am feeling very motivated right now to get some words down and make some progress on this story and chit chat along the way, because I think y'all are liking these chats. I'm getting a lot of feedback about them, so I'm surprised, not gonna lie, but happy, because I am a yapper. I feel like I can talk for hours about whatever, and it's dangerous if I ever do like a live stream, like a writing sprint, which I'm thinking I might do maybe this month. I don't know, but maybe I'll host a writing sprint. But I'm a little worried that we're not gonna do a lot of sprinting. I can yap, guys, so it might just be like a writing yap. Anyways, we're gonna get some writing done. I also asked for questions, I think yesterday, about anything you guys want me to discuss in my next writing vlog, so we'll answer one of those later on in the video. But I did some writing these past few days. I finished up a chapter that I've been kind of like stalling with, which is weird because I don't know why, like even when things are like juicy, I can still take forever to finish writing it. Though I feel like every time I get back into my story, I add something new, whether it's a new character, a new character trait, something about the city, I don't know, something very interesting in the story, which I try to be like, maybe it's a good thing I didn't write because now I have this new idea. But I came up with this idea last night, I think, where I added like a specific element to the city in my story, which is like so freaking cool, and I really want to be in this city. Like if this city existed, y'all, it would be next level. But it has to do with like the layout of the city and how like everything is connected and how certain things work and operate. And it was just really interesting because I spent a lot of time writing, but also a lot of time like Googling, researching. And it was really interesting because while I was doing all that, I also got this comment that I'll put up here that relates a lot to what we're talking about right now. In this comment, she was pretty much saying like how when you're a writer, you're not just a writer. Like there's so many interests and things that go hand in hand with what you're writing about, which I agree with 100,000%. And I feel like it's something too that is a reason for like the pace that I'm currently at with writing. With one, this is my first book. I have no idea what I'm doing, or at least the first book that I'm really trying to get to completion. And also I'm learning so many things. So I have characters that are so different from each other, and I feel like I have to take on the role of each character that I'm writing just because it has to be believable. So I'm currently a mayor, I'm currently a grad student, I'm currently a police officer, I'm currently a barista, I'm currently a lawyer, I'm currently a construction worker. Like I am all these things. I have to research everything about their like job, because when we're like in the setting and we're doing things and they're talking, they have to know what they're talking about. And I don't know anything about this, so I have to like take on these roles and like research it, which is a really interesting experience. And I feel like I'm learning so much about, mostly I would say the government, because I'm trying to figure out how the heck running a city works. Every city is very different than each other, which helps because I have more flexibility than if I was writing about like our federal government or something like that. But yeah, I'm trying to like figure these out. I'm learning new like terminology. Also, like being a lawyer, I'm learning the intricacies of the law and how not everything is like clear cut, and that's why our justice system sucks. But anyways, I'm literally taking on all these roles, putting on all these hats, and I have to learn about them, which is fun but also very time consuming and slows down the pace that I would like to be at when it comes to writing, which is fine because, you know, I don't want to feel like I need to like hurry this process up, and I would like to make the first draft as good as I can get in the moment. So yeah, I just thought that it was interesting because even yesterday when I was like writing about the new intricacies of the city, I had to Google like construction things and if certain things could make sense and like the physics behind certain things, and if hypothetically this would be feasible based on gravity. I don't know, like just learning little tiny things like that is really important, because I can't just have people like talk the talk without walking the walk, and in doing so I have to walk the walk. Like I have to know what the heck I'm doing. And I know that a lot of people make jokes about this, especially for like the murder mystery type people. They'll be like searching crazy things like how to hide a dead body or how long can you survive with this type of wound and stuff like that. So it is a very like immersive experience for sure being a writer, because you want the reader to be in there with you. So that was just something that was on my mind, and something that in this next writing session I'm gonna kind of dive back into, because I feel like I'm gonna have to do quite a bit of research just to make sure things make sense. But yeah, anyways, we're gonna get to writing, chit chat, and kind of go from there, because I'm getting really excited about diving into this next chapter, and I will let you know how it goes because I have a good feeling about it. Okay, I just want to come on here and say that I'm a genius. I'm a freaking genius. Do you ever have moments where like all the pieces just like piece together, like your brain expands and everything just makes so much sense? I just had one of those moments. I am so like happy, because I don't know if I mentioned this in, I think I did in the last video when I talked about outlining. I said how like I feel like I got a lot of progress done with my main characters, and I left space in the outline for my side characters because I don't know 100% how to tell their story just yet. And girl, the way that everything just kind of like fell into my lap, I'm so freaking happy. There are these two characters that are pretty significant, and they were kind of going in different directions, but I found a way to like connect them, and I'm just so happy. And like I don't even have to change anything about them for it to connect, if that makes sense. So yeah, I'm just so happy. So now I have to do more research on social work because apparently now I'm a social worker, which I already knew I would have to be, but now I have to like get into the nitty-gritty of that world, which I'm very excited about, because I feel like at least with this character being a social worker, it will allow for like so much opportunity, and I'm just so excited and so freaking happy. And I'm just so curious with like outliners, people who are like strict outliners, like they have an idea of a book and they just outline before they even write, because the way that I've just been able to understand so many things by just going, there's no way I could have come up with this as like someone who just like outlined off the bat. So it's just very interesting how like different people's brains work. I feel really comforted in that, just because like my main character, I love her, I think she's so cool, but I don't know her very well, if I'm being honest. At least like her backstory, like I try to like think about like different ways I could have her grow up. Like, should she be from like a wealthy family? Should she be from like humble beginnings? Like, how did she get the passion that she currently has, and how does that help shape who she is currently? And I think I have like some type of idea that I want her to probably come from humbler beginnings, but maybe not like too humble. I don't know, but I don't 100% know. But I feel like the more that I'm writing her, the more that it makes sense, and that when it comes to revision, I can just add everything else that I'm not sure about. Because like even recently, I realized that my character is a people pleaser. I didn't intend for her to be a people pleaser, but just how she ends up in a certain situation, it just makes sense for her to be a people pleaser. And I don't think that I would have initially made her that way. And so now I'm kind of juggling everything that I initially knew for sure that she is versus now how she's becoming, because a lot of times characters just do their own things. They just kind of like go wild. I'm trying to like catch them all and be like, wait, wait, like I need to figure y'all out before you go rogue. But I don't think it's ever gonna happen. They're always gonna go rogue, and I'm just gonna have to come to terms with that. But yeah, so far Noah, our FMC, she is a go-getter, very determined, very strong-willed and hard-headed, also very feminine. I mentioned this a while ago, how like she's a black girl and how I wanted to do her justice, because I don't like the narrative of like strong black woman and always being strong and always being too strong in a way where it takes away your femininity and your daintiness and all that stuff. And I talked about this before, and maybe I could talk about it another time in more detail. But anyways, I struggled a lot with how I wanted to like balance her strong-willed and hard-headedness but also femininity, because I don't want her to be the stereotypical black character, because I feel like a lot of times people get lazy with black characters. They just make them the black best friend, the comedic relief, and I don't want to make her that. I want her to be that girl. So now I have another element of people pleasing, which is something I can't relate to, honestly. And I don't feel like I'm the type of person who makes my characters 100% myself. I know some people do that, and definitely in my teenage years when I was writing, I literally would just make them me, like they are me. But now that these characters are just doing their own things, I can't relate to that. That is not me, she is not me. I do have a lot of people pleasers in my life that makes it kind of easy to write, but it is kind of interesting how like these characters evolve and it's not even in your own control. Like I didn't intend for them to turn out this way, but like when you just write, you just kind of like go with it, and it's just such an interesting experience how that is. Like I feel like we can talk about characters and whatnot, but they're for real, like real people. Like yes, I made them up, but to a certain extent, like I didn't have like every single aspect of them like meticulously thought out and chosen. A lot of times it was just like the scene just made the scene did what the scene wanted to do and the characters did what they wanted to do, and it's just a crazy experience. And I don't think this sounds normal for like someone who's not writing. I know you guys can understand what I'm talking about, but like if you don't write, then you don't know what I'm talking about, and if you do write, you do know what I'm talking about. So it's just such a trippy, I don't know, a trippy thing. And I don't even know if I've ever gotten this far in my writing process where I've been able to like get to this point and be like, oh wow, my characters are just doing what they are doing, and like I'm learning them as I go. I'm having a lot of fun learning them as I go, and I like that I don't feel stressed. Like I don't feel like I need to figure this all out. Who are you? I don't know who you are. I'm gonna keep going on this journey so we can figure this out, but it's very interesting that I have this kind of disconnect with the main character because there's still so much I don't know. But like with the other characters, like the love interest in the love triangle, I knew exactly how they are. Like I knew what I wanted them to be and their purpose and how it would impact the main character, but for whatever reason the main character, I don't know 100%. But that is fine. That is all part of the journey. I'm not stressing out about it, and I think it's really cool because I get so excited. Like even just this second ago, like I was having so much fun writing just a second ago. I don't know how many words I written, and to be honest, I hope you guys don't mind. In these writing sessions, I don't always keep track. Most of the time don't care all that much because I do delete words and then I add some more words, and it's kind of just a lot. Like I'm just making sure that like things are making sense and that I'm making progress, and for whatever reason word count isn't the first thing on my mind. So I really don't know how many words I wrote because I don't care, but I'm just so happy that like things are making sense now, and I feel really like confident, like dare I say. Like in this last session I was just like telling myself like this is a good book. Like I was thinking about all the books on my shelf and thinking like, oh my god, like I can envision my book on a shelf. I can envision people reading it and liking it and reposting things about it and quotes about it, and I'm just like, it's just so crazy how like you can have so many highs and lows in the writing process, because I'm on a high right now and I feel so confident. Like I'm just like, dang, this is like good. I feel like this is good. And there's so many elements like I talked about in the last writing vlog, and I thought that it would be too much, but I feel like it's enough. I don't feel like I'm doing too much. I feel like I'm doing perfect. So I'm gonna keep writing, then I think we can chat some more and I'll give you an update about what I've come up with. But I'm feeling so good right now, which is really refreshing, especially in this new year. Like I couldn't hope for any better feeling when I'm writing, because your girl's trying to finish draft 1 this year, which would be my very first time completing a book from start to finish. So yeah. Anyways, let me keep writing and I'll let you know what happens. Hello. So I just finished writing for the night. I wrapped up a chapter. I don't know if I mentioned that in the last clip, but wrapped up a chapter, started a new chapter, but started bringing in some of those side character ideas that I mentioned earlier, which I am so excited about because I really want to make sure every character is being done justice and no one's there just to be there. Like, I really want every character to have a purpose, and I feel like I'm doing somewhat of a decent job. Something that I noticed, and I feel like that's just, again, with writing, like nothing is gonna be very consistent throughout. Like in some chapters I feel like I add so much descriptive imagery and things like of sense and descriptions that you can really like feel like you're there and you can like visualize what's going on. In other chapters I feel like I lack it so much and I'm really just being like, this is what happens and this is what happens and this is what happens, here are my thoughts, and I'm not really adding that extra layer of imagery. But I'm fine with that. Like I said, I feel like revision is just gonna be that time to clean things up, and it's just interesting like thinking about in some chapters I really lean into the imagery and in other chapters I don't, because it's not always where it's like setting specific that I'm like, oh, okay, here's like a huge like description of what's going on. Sometimes I add a lot of description in someone just being, like someone noticing people around them, feelings, little tiny things here and there. I don't know how to describe it and I can't even fully explain it as well, but I think it's really interesting how like I lean into different parts of myself and different things that I enjoy about writing in different chapters. And I definitely want to be more consistent when it comes to revision, but at this moment in time I'm just kind of letting it do its thing and going with the flow, which is really nice. And also what's really nice, the lighting and the situation going on right now is really nice. It's, what time is it? 8:57, so literally almost 9 o'clock, and I'm so glad that I have like lighting that doesn't look like crap and a camera that helps with that. But anyways, I thought it would be kind of fun to go over some questions, or at least just one in particular that stood out to me in this section. So yesterday I asked for questions about what I should talk about and yap about in my next writing vlog, and I got this one question, and it said, what's it like critiquing a friend's story or book, and how do you approach it, especially if you have harsher criticisms? And I just really like that question, especially because I feel like a harsh rater when it comes to my books. Like, I rarely give books 5 stars. I feel like in the last few years since I've gotten back into writing, I've probably only given 3 or 4 books a 5-star, and they don't always have lots of rhyme or reason to it. Sometimes it's like, oh my god, this story just made me feel amazing. There's things that I would definitely change, but because it's so personal to me and I love it, 5 stars. There's other books where I'm like, just the writing was amazing, the storytelling was amazing, everything about it was amazing, and on a technical level, 5 stars. But not all 5 stars are created equally, and I'm still very selective with it. So I thought this was an interesting question to answer. Full disclaimer, I've not critiqued a lot of people, especially on the creative level. I've definitely critiqued in like college and stuff like that, of like essays and things for like English classes and whatnot, but in terms of like a creative story and stuff like that, I haven't done very many. I can only think of one in the recent few months that I have, but I do have a lot of thoughts because it is a very delicate subject and I do think you should handle it with care. So the very first thing that I think is important is to recognize that it is not our story. The person that has trusted us with their work is asking you for feedback regarding their own story, their own vision, and all that. So I think it can be really easy to think about like, oh, well, I would do it this way, or I would do it that way, and this doesn't sit right with me, and da-da-da-da, because personally, that's not something that you would do. But I think when it comes to critiquing, we have to realize that it's not our story. It's not about us. And even though you would write it differently, it doesn't matter. And I feel like the whole point of critiquing is realizing that this is their story, this is their baby, this is their vision, and you're just trying to help them get closer to that vision. So if they're saying, hey, this is the vibe of my story, this is the tone, this is what I want to come across, this is the vision, and I don't like the vision and I would rather it be this vision, it's not productive for me to tell them that's a bad idea, I think you should do this vision. That's the furthest thing that I feel like we should do, and I think we should try to remember that we're just helping them create their vision and make sure that from a outside perspective that is coming across. And also I feel like a lot of times it can be easy to maybe get into, how do I say it, not necessarily like get into our own heads, because it could also be in the same way where like the person giving it to you thinks that maybe like, you know, they really value your opinion and they hold so much weight to it. So I can see it going wrong in both ways, where like the critiquer gets a big head and they're like, oh, they trusted me, like they know I'm really good at this, I can bestow like knowledge and make their work better. And so you're like taking it too seriously and thinking that you can do no wrong and you know the answer. And I can also see the author thinking that like, oh, because this is what they say, I feel like I have to take every single thing into consideration and implement every single change, even if it's not your vision. And so I think being able to establish clear lines of what your job is very helpful. And so I just try my best to approach it as just a little like accessory, just here to make sure that what you want is something that I can perceive myself. I also think that being able to throw in a lot of words of affirmation is key. Don't just go in, right, like talking mad crap about someone's book, because there's gonna be something good and you should let them know that something is good, because that's very, very valuable. If I'm only getting feedback about how bad this is, then I'm gonna think the whole thing is bad. Just being able to know what is good, I can implement that more. I can be like, okay, this is working. This is something that I can do more because it's getting perceived well. So I think that's also really helpful. And also just like wording, like I feel like it's such a vulnerable situation to be in, and like sometimes putting in the wording for critique can be like a little awkward. Like, how do you say it well? Because like there could definitely be some things where it's like objectively not making a lot of sense, and you want to be very clear and tell them, hey girl, this just isn't making any sense. Your vision isn't visioning because I can't see. So I think being able to like say things like in a way that is gentle but also straightforward is key. And putting in words like, hey, I wonder if this would be a good solution, or hey, I wonder if like this is the most effective way to approach this dialogue or this scene or whatever. And so instead of just being like, hey girl, this sucks, this makes no sense, rewrite this, I would be like, hey, I'm not 100% understanding what is happening, and can you clarify it more for me? Then you can have like a discussion and be like, oh, that's what you wanted? Well, this is how I perceived it. And so clearly that shows that there's been a disconnect, and that the author can probably take that criticism or more like a conversation and just be like, hey, there's a disconnect here, let's fix it. And I really like the idea of like having a conversation. I never want to just like have like a document and have my little critiques without like explaining it, because a lot of times I only have so many words to use and so much time to put on paper. But like when it comes to like having a debrief, discussing my thoughts, I think that is so helpful. So if you can like talk to them in person, on FaceTime, something like that, to further your thoughts, then I think that would also be really great. Also, coupling your criticism with a suggestion. I don't think it would be productive to just say something's bad unless you can also come up with a solution as well, or like give examples. Like, I feel like the conflict is lacking. Do you remember in this movie where they had this kind of conflict and this is comparable to that? So if you don't have the exact vocabulary, you can use examples to kind of help visualize, because I'm not a professional critiquer. I don't even know 100% what I'm looking for. I just know that I love to read and I love books, and I guess I do book reviews and critique kind of a lot, but I feel like I can tell when something is missing even if I don't know the exact terminology. And so like being able to provide as much like tools and feedback as possible, I think is the best approach. Being able to recognize that you are not trying to change their story, you're just trying to make their story the best of their story that it can be, is key. Because I also feel like I'm the type of person who, and I didn't realize this until a little, like maybe a couple years ago, and not because anyone said it, but because I noticed it myself, that I feel like I can give unsolicited advice a lot of the time. I try to catch myself when I'm doing that, just because sometimes people don't need it. So whenever someone asks for my thoughts, I dive right in. I'm like, girl, let's listen, let's hear. I love problem solving, it's my favorite thing, but also recognizing that like it's not my job to like try to make their book perfect or try to make it the way I want to do it, because it's not your book. And also just from like an author's perspective, I don't think we would enjoy it if someone was trying to like low-key rewrite your whole book, right? And like tell you how all these things are going not well, and like, oh, this is what you want the story to be about. I think it'd be kind of cooler if you made this insert huge plot change, you know, like that's not productive. So yeah, I just think being able to be humble, take a step back, and try to get as much information about their story and what they want is the best, because then all we're doing is just trying to verify that it's coming across to an audience. And it can be really hard, especially if like there's so many things wrong with it. Oh my god, that might sound kind of mean, but like it can be rough, right? Like I'm very aware of the fact that we have a lot of people in our lives that we can love and we want to support them, but like if they're not there yet as a writer, it can definitely get tricky. So like trying to find a way to let them know, hey, I think your story needs a lot of work, if they're not there yet as a writer, can definitely be difficult. But it's also just like not your job to try to fix the entire book. It's all about being honest and recognizing the best way to say what you want to say without being mean about it. And hopefully you won't be the only person giving critique on a book, so that if there's like patterns, then they can have a lot of people saying the same thing, so you don't feel like isolated and giving them like a harsher type criticism. But I mean, as long as you're putting a lot of love and words of affirmation in it, I feel like you won't be deemed a villain. You know what I mean? Like there's gotta be something, whether it's like, oh, I love the characters here, even if their writing is not that great, or if their writing is great but you don't think the characters are fledged out, like really like highlight what they're doing well. And even if it's like the worst, like even if it's the worst thing you've ever read, tell them like, hey, your determination, the way that you like wrote that book, like I admire it so much, how you just like took the time and dedication to write this book, because I know it was really hard and I know that it was really challenging. And thank them for like trusting you to read it, because it's so vulnerable. Like you're literally naked and like, well, not literally, but it exposes you a lot. And like that's also why I feel like in my story, like there's romance in it, and the thought of like people reading that in my real life makes me a little uncomfortable, just because I feel like there's certain areas, right, in my life where I will not fully discuss, right? But like if I'm writing about romance and feelings, like it's like people could get like a glimpse maybe into my mind or stuff that goes on in there, even though it's not me, right? It's like my character, so you can just blame it on the characters, but it's very like I feel exposed a little bit. But yeah, that's how I would answer that question. And also just a little plug, because I feel like it's just so seamless. If you need any critiquing in your projects, your whips, your book, your whatever, Brielle has her own critique services where she has very affordable pricing, and she is a great critique partner. She will help you make your books the best that it can be, and she will tell you what's working, what's not, and she won't crush you. No, she'll be so sweet about it. So definitely check her out. I'll put the website in the description if you need someone to critique your book. But yeah, if you are that person who's doing the critiquing, just think about it like if that was you. If you were giving someone your baby, how would you want that criticism to be expressed? So anyways, I think I've been yapping for quite a while. I'm going to end this video here. If you are new, please be sure to subscribe, because I would love to have you here. You can follow me on Instagram. I do plan on having more bookish things coming in 2025. I'm so excited for 2025. Honestly, I feel like this will be a very nice year with my prefrontal cortex. So yeah, if you enjoyed it, please be sure to let me know. And if you have any questions that you want me to answer, or topics that you want me to answer in the next writing vlog, because I think y'all like it when I yap, and I do plan on yapping some more, so leave it in the comments and I can just pick them for the next vlog and we can just talk about it, because I love having a conversation about writing, about literally whatever. So yeah, hope you guys have a great day, a great 2025, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.